The Lion King is one of the biggest boy brands in the entire portfolio of the Walt Disney Company. So then why are box office projections looking worse than so-so? It turns out that Sega knows. They're bringing the blue blur to holidays, taking on Mufasa directly, and it turns out that theaters may need blast processing to handle how much money Sonic the Hedgehog is about to make, running laps and loop-de-loops around Mufasa. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It is our passion, and it's lasting us a long, long time. Hollywood can't stand that we have decades left to go, but by golly, we're going to do this forever. And folks, never is how often Disney ever thought that they would be losing money on Mufasa, but it might be their, future that they cannot get away from. Why? Because they're going out in the same weekend taking the Lion King prequel versus Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic seems to be dominating. We've got the stats, and we're ready to show you why Disney might want not to ever go to bat against Sega again. We now have people talking about turning Sega into the next Disney. Now, I don't think they're going to be completely successful in doing so. I don't think Sega is big enough to be turned into Disney, at least not quickly. But it's worth putting up on the screen because there's actually some fruition to this already happening. It's looking very much like Sega and Sonic and Paramount together are going to absolutely destroy one of Disney's biggest brands, The Lion King. We'll explain right now.
Ooh.
This out of games industry, the former Hollywood exec looking to transform Sega into the next Disney. We talked to Dustin Scarpone about Sega's transmedia strategy and its vision to make it a global entertainment company. This is by Marie D'Alessandri. It says, as part of its latest financial report, Sega highlighted that it plans on building on the current momentum of its games business by accelerating the transmedia development of the group's IP. The strengthening of its transmedia strategy has been at the heart of the firm for a few years now, with the success of Sonic films, of course, but also the Angry Birds movies. Don't lie to me now. A Like a Dragon series for Amazon Prime, a recently announced Shinobi series with Universal Pictures, and more. Earlier this year, it appointed former Disney exec Dustin Scarpone as head of global transmedia to spearhead those efforts. We caught up with him at Gamescom Asia last month, with Scarpone telling us he wants to help make Sega an entertainment company that can compete on the global stage. Honestly, my aspiration for my time at Sega is that this is a great global gaming company. And through the transmedia segment in our initiatives, I want to help them become a great entertainment company. And it's a great grandiose statement, or a very grandiose statement, but I'm pretty earnest about that. Gaming is the irreplaceable form of entertainment for the entire world, far greater than any other form of entertainment. And it's high time that there is a replication of the studio system from Hollywood. This is what I want to focus in on, this statement. It's high time there is a replication of the studio system from Hollywood for the gaming industry. He adds, it's a model that would work for the top 5, top 10 global game IP companies. And folks, remember when we talked about the NCU? Well, the reason you haven't heard much about Nintendo Cinematic Universe movies anymore is because our sources tell us, and have consistently been telling us, that Nintendo is slow walking all of this. And I love Nintendo, and I want them to do well, and I understand their quality requirements. But apparently they're really, really slow, and it's making it untenable to get those NCU films out in a expedient manner. Sega, well, they don't have any quality issues, for better or worse, but if they can be better than average, that might be enough. Take a look. It says game companies don't have that content flywheel history that Walt Disney basically invented, of taking that IP and having a 5-year, 10-year roadmap of content, like Feige does for the films, and connecting that into all the other businesses and evolving story over these different experiences, content, product, and services. He goes on to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 3, talks about Shadow the Hedgehog. And I know for people who don't care anything about the Sonic franchise, you might say, well, la-di-da, great for them. Well, let's la-di-da for a minute together. This is Google Trends over the past 12 months. And this chart shows us the internet searches for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the film. And I'll show you that I've got this there. Wow. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the film, versus Mufasa the Lion King, the film. They come out, I believe, on the same weekend. Is that right, Jonas? Same weekend?
Yeah, they do.
This is a head-to-head. Compare for a moment Disney's biggest brand, well, not their biggest brand, but one of their biggest brands, arguably, I won't say it's their biggest brand, but it's up there. Lion King versus Sonic, and you can see that Sonic, as of recently, we can pull this up, Sonic is pulling something like triple the interest online as Mufasa the Lion King. Mm-hmm. Again, these come out the exact same day, and one would presume that they are focused in on the exact same demographic. Families with kids, specifically, mostly boys. Well, guess what?
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's going to be a biblical butt kicking. It is. Nobody is interested in this Mufasa movie. It has no buzz, as you can see here. I think there's only 2 pinpoints on this map that you've got here where Mufasa eclipsed Sonic 3 in terms of interest, and it's not even close. Sonic is one of the single biggest kids brands going today. I would go as far as to say more kids like Sonic the Hedgehog now than liked Sonic the Hedgehog in the early 90s when the game was first came out.
Definitely. Another thing I'll add, there's a new trailer for Mufasa that would probably release to coincide with D23 down in Brazil, and they've changed the tone in the marketing significantly. Their original marketing was going for something that evoked the tone of like an epic, and talking about it being a prequel and all those things. And the prequel stuff is still in the newest trailer, but the newest trailer is heavy on the Hakuna Matata and the just can't wait to be king. It's a much lighter story that's going for a much more playful tone. And they're emphasizing now that it has music, like they weren't even mentioning that it was a musical previously. And now they're going much heavier into the idea that this is a Disney movie here, which is a better strategy. I still don't think it's going to work for them. They also have, it's kind of defeats the idea of the first film. As well. Are you going to play it? Because
no. We're doing. I don't trust them right
now.
Just
just for fun, I checked something in the background here. Because ignore the Mufasa trailer that came out 3 days ago. That has 4.1 million views. But the previous trailer came out 3 months ago, and that has 15 million views on YouTube, which is on the Disney YouTube channel. Just for fun, I did a comparison, checking the Sonic 3 trailer from 2 months ago from Paramount Pictures. And that's at 17 million views, which means that in 2/3 of the time, the Sonic 3 trailer has amassed 2 million more views than the Mufasa trailer.
And there's another differentiation. When you talked about families with children as being the same audience, I don't know, but my impression is that Sonic is much less about mom and dad enjoying it too. They just bring the kids because the kids want to go, as opposed to the Lion King being a more multi-age group, multi-demographic appeal, if it has any.
I don't necessarily agree with that, Lou.
Well, maybe not. That's my
impression. Neither do I. I had a tremendous amount of fun seeing Sonic with my kids.
Okay.
People of my generation that grew up with the Sonic games, I mean, they put stuff in that specifically harkens back to those Sega games from the early 90s
they go deep.
Very deep.
Yeah, Jim Carrey is the villain in the Sonic movies, and he's great. He's classic Jim Carrey in these movies. But then there's also a supporting cast of comedians and comedic actors that do a really great job in it.
Oh well, okay.
So then, guys, let's bring that back though to what we're seeing here in the chart. Blue is Sonic, red is Mufasa, color coded well this time, and these are all of the searches over the past year. Sonic is destroying Mufasa. What does this say about the state of Disney if the Lion King is pulling in 1/3 and could be defeated by maybe double by the blue blur, by Sonic the Hedgehog? What does it say about
one more question. How much of the interest or the looking up trailers or whatever of the Disney movie of the two is because of parents worried about the Disney brand, checking to make sure it isn't too adult or too out there?
I would also say this is a supply and demand situation. Sonic 3, after Sonic 2, with the teaser at the end where they showed Shadow, people were jonesing for this. They were like, we want this movie. This Mufasa movie, I don't think there was one single person on this planet other than Bob Iger who was like, you know what I really want to see? What happened when Mufasa was a kid? There was no demand for this. It's not for anyone.
Yeah, a Lion King prequel. Nobody really said. Oh, and here's the worst part of it. Can we get back there? Let me see if I can find it. I wanted to show because they've kind of masked this lately. I may not be able to pull. Here it is. The idiocy of having the Mufasa prequel be about darker furred lions versus lighter furred lions. In
Yes.
Yeah,
That is
white colonizing lions too. They're coming in to take over the land.
That is the dumbest possible way of creating conflict in a children's movie. You want to drive audiences away? Do that. Do that.
And haven't they've officially committed to a Lion King log flume in Paris, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's
So-
the racism log flume. Yeah.
So they're all in on this, whether it succeeds or fails that way.
Meanwhile, somehow Sonic and that movie, somehow Paramount is keeping Jim Carrey acting sane. Has anybody noticed Jim Carrey has not been out lately? Now, I could be wrong, but I have not seen Jim Carrey out there making his typical TDS stuff. He stayed away from it, as far as I can tell, which means he must not be painting very much, at least not online. So kudos to Paramount for keeping this guy, out of Crazyville.
Yep. One more thing I'll add: the Sonic the Hedgehog movies made by Paramount. Paramount is not insane with their budgets, generally speaking, especially with kids' films. So they're 90 million a piece when they make them, and I would be very surprised to find out that Mufasa, the Lion King prequel or whatever, is less than $250 million in budget.
Yeah.
It's a
Without
fully
Jim Carrey
CGI
salary.
They're very sure that this Sonic 3 movie is going to be a massive success. I believe they've already greenlit a Shadow the Hedgehog spin-off movie. Originally, it was thought that they were going to do a Paramount Plus series where they did with Knuckles, but now apparently they're saying, no, it's going to be its own movie, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Well, take a look at this. It's out of Deadline. Anthony D'Alessandro. It says Mufasa the Lion King hopes to roar $66 million opening or more. Guys, that's not a roar. Not for this brand.
No, that's not great.
So it's 59 to 66 million is the current projection. It says, keep in mind that the fire-breathing campaigns for Mufasa and Paramount Sonic the Hedgehog 3 haven't truly begun yet. Then it talks about Wicked, Gladiator 2, and Moana 2. In all fairness, Disney is probably going to have a huge win with Moana 2. But Mufasa is not a story we should ignore. And the fact that Sonic looks like it's going to absolutely obliterate it, that is worthy of covering because that is the Christmas holiday film, and the battle for that really matters. So if Paramount wins with Sonic, could be a sign that at least with boy brands, Disney's done. Final thoughts, panel.
Well, you know what? They had their opportunity to develop boy brands. That was the whole purpose of them buying Marvel and Star Wars back in the day. Remember, they were like, well, we've got a handle on the girl brands with the princesses, but now we need something for the boys because pirates were not catching on with boys. So they were like, we've got superheroes and we've got Star Wars. Well, then they just decided that's for girls now too. They've driven boys away from the Disney brand to such a point where now the two biggest boy brands on earth are Super Mario Brothers and Sonic the Hedgehog, neither of which have anything to do with Disney and are kicking its butt all over the box office, and they deserve every dollar that they lose on this for what they've done to boys.
Well, I mean, let's also not forget what DC has allowed to happen with comics and Marvel is allowed to have with comics. They're I mean, if you want cesspools of disaster, then just look at those two. And, they're the source of a lot of the stuff that we're supposed to be watching now.
But the good news for all of them is that their political brethren and sistren are promoting that women should deny sex to men who voted the other way, and therefore there'll be fewer kids to entertain down the road.
That'll show them. Yeah. The other thing that I would point out here is that The Lion King is a very masculine story. It's a story that is very much tied to men actually, taking control of their lives and destiny and legacy. There's a lot of pro masculine themes in The Lion King. Maybe those will be in here from Barry Jenkins, the director of Moonlight, who's directing Mufasa. I don't know. It's possible. But I just don't see them actually going back to the things that were great about the original Lion King, other than saying, hey, you remember Mufasa? Hey, remember Scar? Well, he has a different name in this one, but remember Scar and remember Sarabi? They're going for member berries on a property that's really not meant for member berries.
And who do they show in all the trailers? Also, Jonas, they show Pumbaa and Timon, two characters that probably have nothing to do with this movie in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
agreed. It's the bookends, and they're not even doing bookends from Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella, so people recognize the voice. They're going with Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen. So yeah, there you go.
Although Billy Eichner, he's a good guy. He's a funny guy.
He is funny.
He may be a good guy, but I mean, he was behind one of last year's biggest flops in boys.
Yeah, we're all allowed flops.
Yeah. The crime there, other than I disagree with the idea behind the content. The crime there is that they spent so much money on a film that really has zero market appeal. But in the end, Disney is showing up here to say, well, we're gonna stamp our name on this right here. We've got a piece of celluloid. We're gonna see. Okay, we'll take this off of shelf 6, and right here we're gonna put. We'll do a Mufasa one this year, and it's gonna do great.
And let's remember, it isn't just this year, any time of the year. It's the Christmas movie, which means the merch impact of this conflict is tripled.
Well, and look,
exactly.
And this is where I have to jump in here and speak, because I've been waiting. Disney does not understand how to be synergistic anymore. They used to be the corporation of synergy. Here, they fell down on the job. Not only are we hearing about a future theme park empire, whatever else that could show up out of Sega, which I doubt, but that's okay. We're hearing about a video game that's just come out that's going to support this. We're hearing about the film itself. We're hearing about theme park rides for it in other places. We're hearing that Paramount is willing to invest whatever it takes to keep this going. You are looking at a collapsed studio in Paramount Skydance, rising from the ashes on the backs of this property and maybe some others. I think in the future, we're going to look at the studios that basically got their clock cleaned in this most recent bout of Hollywood destruction and self-loathing. And what's going to rise out of them is going to be something that just cleans Disney's clock. And I don't know how you could go either way on this, but you have synergy across the board in toys, in video games, in, obviously the film and everything else that's going to show up. You don't think Sonic's going to grow exponentially because of this? Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, we will see how this plays out. But as you can see on the screen we have behind us, that is coming for Mufasa, and I would not want that coming for my property. Often as we get ready to wrap these up, folks, you'll hear us say, keep learning, keep growing, keep having fun. And the reason we do it is because we appreciate you. It's true, we do. And we want you to have a good time. Thank you for giving us the great time of spending time with you. Folks, on the way out the door, consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, click it and stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell, and drop a comment down below because you matter. Your thoughts matter. Who cares what the legacy corporate deadbeat media tells you? You really are important. And we're a testament to that. We wouldn't be here without folks just like you. And since we've said it, we'll say it once more. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.